Well, hey, gang, Jim Jacobus. Welcome to this In the Sales Arena sales training webinar. Glad to have you guys with us today. First, let me start off by apologizing in advance. If I seem really excited today, I am. I just got back from an awesome training program yesterday. We're getting ready to take a lot of the stuff we do and turn them into online courses. And if you've not met Janine Blackwell, in your travels and everything, she does creating six-figure online courses. Course, it's titled something like that. But just got back from a live event with those guys yesterday, and man, alive, it is so cool to one, meet somebody who really knows their stuff, and two, really get some great ideas. And we're excited about where we're heading with that. So I'm really pumped up today. Was working out with my trainer this morning, and he goes, "Man, you seem like you got a lot of energy today." And I said, I do. Even after driving 5.5 hours home from New Orleans last night, I am just really fired up. So my apologies if a little too excited this morning, but glad to be with you. We are calling this Mindset May because all during the month of May in our webinars and in our blogs and our podcasts, we're going to be talking about how important mindset is. And if you look at the graphic here that we use as kind of the basis for our program, it says providing the strategies, tactics, skills, and mindset to have the sales career and life you want. We have been talking about strategies and quite frankly learned that you guys don't really care that much for them. We can tell that just from all different kinds of data and analytics and everything. And when we're talking about overarching strategies, people don't really get into them too much. And then this tactics and skills kind of stuff is what we talked about a lot last month with how to get a 15-minute meeting with anybody and what to do when you get there. As a matter of fact, that really kind of may be the very first program that we launch when we launch our online program is to take that course, the how to get a 15-minute meeting with anybody and what to do when you get there, and really take that deep and give everybody the real deep, rich look at that and how-tos along with templates and all that kind of stuff and everything. So we're looking at that as being our first course, maybe one on handling objections. We're not sure yet, but nonetheless, this whole mindset stuff, though, is what we want to tackle in May. So, again, just as always, just welcome. Glad to have you guys with us. We're really looking forward to our time together today. And switching over to Thursdays is partly because we want to create a little more margin in our schedule every week. Because once we launch the online courses, they will be released on Tuesdays. So that gives us a little bit of margin in between that and our webinars on Thursdays. So hopefully this does not make it inconvenient for you. I see a lot of you still here that are regular folks and everything. So glad to have you here. And let's see here. Got a question already. What's this one say? Hope you can share any of my resiliency articles. Yeah, as a matter of fact, Eileen, I am going to put that in the show notes. Excuse me, guys. Inhaled the wrong way there. Because we have a good friend of mine, Eileen McDarg, on the call, the webinar with us today, and she's got some really cool stuff on dealing with resiliency and stuff like that. We'll put those in the show notes for you and put that in a blog as well. So anyway, let me tell you what our agenda for today is real quick. Okay, we're going to talk about attitude. And I wanted to share with you, I do not think that a great attitude is the world is rosy, everything's amazing, pie in the sky, kind of. I don't think that's necessarily a great attitude. Matter of fact, if you have that kind of attitude, life is tough. Sooner or later, it's going to kick you in the teeth, punch you in the stomach, and we become disillusioned, all right? So I'm not one of those kind of guys when it comes to the attitudes that we'll be discussing all month long. I believe that a great attitude is the ability to hold any situation up to the light, to look at it from 360 degrees, to see the good, the bad, the ugly, to be totally aware of all of that, not naive, be totally cognitive about all of it, but then choose to focus on the positive. To me, that's what a great attitude is to be completely aware of everything, but yet able to focus in on the positive. So we're going to talk about that all month long and all of the stuff that we're doing and everything. So what is a positive attitude? Again, it's just that ability to see the good, the bad, and the ugly and choose to focus on the positive. We're going to talk about where does our attitude come from? kind of share with you a little bit of some of the work that we do and how we do our work. And then we're going to talk about how to develop resiliency and why that is so important. So I wanted to start off by sharing a story with you. I think to some extent, this is all of our stories. And in one way or another, I think we've all experienced this. We started our business 22 years ago, March 1st. So we're now in our 23rd year. About 3 years in or 4 years in, I can tell you that I probably had already tried to quit 4 or 5 times. I got into the business very naively. Somebody told me I was a good speaker, much like many of the others here. I saw somebody speak. I thought it was really awesome. I wanted to do it. And so I got into the business. My wife was very supportive, as she always is. And as all of you know, speaking or any kind of business that we really want to be good at, it's a lot harder than it looks. And about 3 or 4 years in, I'm just like, I am depressed. We're not doing well. We're financially struggling. I'm having a hard time paying the bills. I mean, we really were in tough straits. And I remember sitting on a windowsill with my son in our home, and he was very, very young at the time. He was probably maybe 12 years old or something like that. And just kind of telling him how I was feeling and sharing it with him. And to this day, Jason recalls that conversation and recalls us talking about not quitting. And that was really kind of the message I was sending to him, that we weren't going to quit. We're going to continue to try to figure it out. And a couple of years later, we got some traction and things started rolling, and here we are. So I think we all get to that place where we get, kind of at our wits' end. We kind of run out of gas, we run out of energy, we run out of ideas, we run out of options. And maybe in your sales or in your business, you struggle with that. And that's something I think we all struggle with. So I wanted to share with you that, you hear a lot of positive stuff from me. That by and large is my nature. Those of you who know me very well, I'm very, very positive about everything that I do and very encouraging. And that's kind of just sort of my brand, if you will. But it hasn't always been that way, and it hasn't always been easy by any means. And I know it hasn't been easy for you. So we're going to talk about how do we keep that attitude of resiliency as we go through and deal with our sales, trying to be effective at selling. So a couple of quotes. I grabbed a bunch of these this morning for us. This one says, "Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right." Henry Ford said that. And, I think attitude is so critical to what we do, to being successful at it. And if we tend to have a negative attitude and we think the world's terrible, then you know what? The world's going to be terrible. If we tend to think the world's great, then the world's going to be great. If you think customers are great, then they tend to be great. If you think they're terrible, you tend to have terrible customers. So I really thought this was a good one to start with. And then this one by Mahatma Gandhi says, "Men and or women," sorry, it said men, but we obviously want to be gender bias here, but people often become what they believe themselves to be. If I believe I cannot do something, it absolutely makes me incapable of doing it. And I'm just going to just land right on that for a second. If we don't think we're any good at math, I'm going to tell you what, you're never going to be good at math. If you don't think you're any good at cold calling, you'll never be good at cold calling. Now, I see people all the time in the work that we do that have these kinds of negative attitudes. And, they'll ask me a question, well, what if you're not any good at, then what? And I always want to go, what makes you mean you're not any good at it? All right. You may not be as good as somebody else, but doesn't mean you can't get better. So if we believe we cannot do something, it makes us incapable of doing it. But when I believe I can, then I acquire the ability to do it, even if I didn't have it in the first place. So it's all about this belief system. And we're going to land on that all month long. And then I wanted to use this one by Steve Jobs. I love so many of his quotes, and I just kind of love the way he thought. I wish he treated people a little bit better, but it's kind of part of his being kind of cranky. But the greatest artists like Dylan, Picasso, Newton, Jim Jacobus, Eileen McDard, Claire Paulson, Sherry Freisinger, all right, the great artists like all of those risk failure. And if we want to be great, we've got to risk it too. And so again, that's really what this is all about, is being willing to risk and fail, and then risk again and fail again and risk again in order to be successful. So I'm going to talk a little bit about resiliency here and what it is. It's our ability to bounce back from adversity. And I love in our workshops, I ask people, how many feel like between now and the time the day is over, they're going to run into some kind of adversity? Well, I mean, everybody in the room is going to raise their hand. If you drive in traffic, if you're a living, breathing human being every day, we're going to deal with adversity. Now, that's part of the deal. It's part of life. The question is, how fast do we bounce back from that? How fast is it? Are we to get back in the game? You've heard us talk about before, and if you haven't, I'll share it with you real quick. We do a lot of benchmarking top sales performers for our clients. We'll go in and work with somewhere between 5 to 8 top performers. We have them fill out a very extensive survey where we're capturing some data and we're measuring their behaviors, we're measuring motivators, and we're measuring what we call core skills and core competencies. Well, the first thing I'll tell you is behaviors never have, never can, never will predict performance. Myers-Briggs, DISC, Caliper, Berkman, you name it. I don't care which one it is. I see a lot of our clients have used those kinds of tools in the past as a selection tool, as a tool to predict performance, and they don't predict performance. They never have, they never will, but we still measure them. And when we do that, by the way, just as a way of affirming the fact that they don't predict performance, we end up with a flat line on the behavioral style, because the 5 to 8 top performers are going to come from every behavioral style. They're going to give us their bias, and that bias is going to flatten out the curve. And then we measure 6, what we call workplace motivators. They do to some extent predict performance. The number 1 and number 2 motivators for top salespeople are money and power. They want the money that comes from being the best of the best. And they want the control over their career that comes from being best of the best as well. But then we measure 23 core skills and core competencies. And they're really across the board. And in the show notes on this one, I'll place those in there so you can take a look at them. I should have popped that slide in here, but I didn't. My apologies. But we measure 23 of them. And when we measure those 23 and we ask them all to tell us how important they are, the number 1 core skill that always pops to the top is resiliency. All right. It's the number 1 core skill of top sales performers. When something goes wrong, they bounce back from it faster than anybody else does. Plain and simple. It's really easy to see the average and below average performer. Something goes wrong. Somebody cancels an appointment. Some deal doesn't work out. Somebody cancels an order. They spend half a day in a deli somewhere trying to figure out if they're going to go back to work or not. The top performers, when something goes wrong, they have the attitude, some will, some won't. So what? Who's next? Let's go. They've got so much going on that one loss is no big deal to them. They're just right back at it. And they do that by keeping things framed properly. They keep everything in the proper perspective in life. And that's really what resiliency is all about. Now, we'll tell you this. When we measure all those core skills, the top 5 are resiliency, personal accountability, self-management, influencing others, and continuous learning. Those are the top 5 core skills for extraordinary sales. Of those that are really difficult to teach, we tell clients that the sales rep needs to come with this at a pretty high level because it's hard to develop. The 2 that are hard to develop are resiliency and personal accountability. They are core skills that are developed over a long period of time. And somebody has a low level of resiliency, they've been told that they're not capable, they're not worthy, they have low self-esteem, low self-image, and it's been built into them over a long period of time, and changing that is very, very difficult. We're going to talk about it today. What are some things we can do to improve that? But I can tell you this, if they're a 2 or 3 on a scale of 10 with resiliency, I'm not likely going to make them a 9 or a 10. I tell my clients all the time, though, if I can make them a 5 or 6, will they perform better? The answer is yes. But I've yet to see, and I'm not saying it's impossible, but I've yet to see anybody who's really low on that absolutely flip the switch and become a 9 or 10. So with our clients, we set a benchmark that says you don't even get the opportunity at this sales job if you don't score at least a 7 or better. And because we apply that to everybody, we have no problems with the HR guys. But this is a really difficult one to teach. But we're going to take a stab at it today anyway. All right, let me check and see if we got any questions out there before we move on. Any questions, any thoughts? Just making sense to everybody? How many benchmarks have we done? We're right at 400 right now. We've done 397, I think the last count was sales positions only. We've done another 200 or 300 that are other positions in an organization, but we've done almost that many sales benchmarks. And when we crunch all the numbers, we put all the sales benchmarks together. We put that data in there. Okay, who we benchmark? Good question. We benchmark real wide variety of clients. Let's see here: Halliburton, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Mercedes-Benz, the Maids was one we did here recently. A franchise company. Really broad spectrum of kinds of clients. These things really work in every industry that we've been working in. So. Would like to learn more about that. Okay, shoot me an email. I'll be glad to share with you the folks. We work with TTI out of Arizona. I have seen every assessment you can imagine. I'm pretty familiar with almost all of them. They're all many of them are very, very good, but yet there are some downsides to all of them. I use TTI because I think their products are the best, and I love them as a company. I love being a partner with them and everything. They're great guys. So, all right. Any other questions, thoughts? Okay. Yeah. Here's a thought for you. Let's move on. Okay, got you. All right. Here we go. So let's start talking about how we deal with resiliency and kind of give you a little bit of our insight into our coaching work as well. When we look at resiliency, we have to start with this whole idea of what we call the belief continuum. Now, many of you may have seen this before, but if you haven't, I think this is worth kind of noting and everything. And here's the belief continuum, if you will. We have a core belief. They create thoughts. They create actions. Actions create habits. Habits create performance. Performance creates character. All right, and then you can actually add to this, all of that creates a legacy. So I have a belief. That belief creates a thought. That thought creates an action. That action repeated creates a habit. Those habits repeated create performance. Performance over a long period of time creates my character. That's what people see me as, my brand or anything. That's the belief continuum. Now, when I started doing a lot of coaching work a number of years ago, what I would wind up doing is running into a client who was struggling in this area of their actions, habits, and performance. That's typically why somebody gets me involved in coaching, or a client would call me to coach one of their employees, and I'd be working with them. And so I try to deal with it on this habit performance level, if you will. And what it turned out to be is like a whack-a-mole machine. All right, if you've ever seen one of those, if you've ever been to Chuck E. Cheese or any kind of a kid's place or any kind of a carnival, they have these whack-a-mole machines, and it's a little machine there, and it's got like 8 or 9 holes in it, and you grab a little mallet, and when the mole pops its head up out of the hole, you hit it on the head, and every time you hit one of those, well, you get a point. All right, well, so you hit it on the head, well, then another one pops up, and you hit it on the head, and another one pops up. And the machine speeds up at the end where you can't quite hit them all on the head. Well, that's what happened whenever I was trying to coach clients by working on this habit performance action level. All right. If I'm working in that area, that's what was happening to me. And then I realized that I was never going to be able to change that unless I started working with their core belief. In other words, what was their belief about that caused them to think it was okay to fill in the blank, whatever it was they did, whatever their poor performance was. What was it that caused them to believe that? What was their thought on that? And if I could change the belief about it, then I could change their thoughts, actions, habits, performance. That's why resiliency is so difficult to change. It's because the belief comes from a very long-standing, very deep belief that they're not capable, they're not worthy, they're not able. And so whenever that happens and something goes wrong, they don't bounce back very fast because they don't think they're able to, or they think they're not capable of it. And so that's one of the things that we run into that creates a real challenge. All right. Any questions about this real quick? And can I use this? Absolutely. Help yourself. Not a problem. Glad to do it. You don't even have to give me credit. I don't remember where I got it. My wife and I use this a lot in our marriage work, and I use it a lot in sales training. So you're more than welcome to use that. Absolutely. If you want to give me credit for it, feel free. Say, man, this guy, Jim Jacobus, shared this with me. And if it's not any good, it's his fault. And if it is, then I came up with it on my own. So feel free to do what you want to with that. Okay, good. All right, let's move on. So let's take a look at what's our attitude, what's our core belief about some key things that I think go into being successful in sales. What is our core belief about these things here? Now, the first core belief I want to ask you about is, what's your core belief about sales and selling? I will tell you that I run into a lot of people, for those of you who are not in the speaking and consulting industry, I run into a lot of people who are really, really good at what they do. They have an expertise that's really outstanding, but they go, but I don't want to sell. I don't have to sell. And I go, well, good. You're going to be on a great weight loss program. All right. And so if you're a consultant or you're one of my speaker buddies after listening to this and you're going, I don't like to sell, well, I'm going to tell you what, you're going to wind up being a nice skinny speaker somewhere down the road because it's part of the deal. I will tell you that's not out of the ordinary though. I do classes all the time and I'll have people on a scale of 1 to 10 tell me how professional they think selling is, and it'll run the gamut. Even in a class with 100 really outstanding salespeople that we're doing text work with, and they're texting in where they put it. I mean, the average is about a 6. I happen to believe that selling is an extraordinary profession. I believe it's one of the most honorable professions on the planet when done properly. But yet, just the whole idea of selling is really foreign to everybody. So do me a favor, and again, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but raise your hand on your dashboard there. You got a little place to raise your hand and lower your hand. Raise your hand or lower your hand if this is an area that you struggle with sales being really professional and something that you love to do. Do me a favor, just raise your hand if that's something you struggle with. Okay? Oh, cool. All right. Appreciate that. They're raising them and putting them right back down real quick. All right, cool, gang. That first thing, I appreciate that. I love that transparency in this group. That's good stuff. So it is things that a lot of people struggle with, and not just consultants and speakers, but even salespeople. All right. I believe to be successful in sales, to be extraordinary at it, we've got to get to the point where we believe it's a very honorable thing to do. And I want us to think about that attitude. Matter of fact, I'm going to give you some homework in a little bit, and maybe that'll be something we can look at. What's your attitude about customers and clients? How do you view them? Do you view them as partners? Do you view them as great folks to deal with and everything? Or do you view them as adversaries? Are they somebody that we're in competition with or in a battle with? How do you view the salespeople? I mean, the customers that you do work with and everything. I was at a preview for one of the large sales training organizations in America a couple of years back. They came to NSA Houston, and the guy was talking about their system, and I won't throw him under the bus. And he was talking about these tools in sales that you call a tie down. Do you want it on Thursday or Friday? Do you want it red or blue? And he was talking about all these tie downs, and the reason you needed to use these tie downs was because customers will lie to you. Customers are lack integrity. Customers will tell you one thing and turn around and do something else the next minute. And quite frankly, I'll tell you, that did not sit well with me. And I spoke up, as you can imagine if you know me. And I said, well, first thing, I'm not going to tell you that all customers are honorable and everything. Some of them certainly will lie to you. But the large majority of people I deal with are very honorable people. They have integrity. They have character. They're very collaborative. Many of them are friends of mine. And I'm not buying into the whole idea that customers are a bunch of thieves and cheats and liars. And the guy, not knowing me, said, well, obviously you don't have a lot of experience in sales. Well, I'm in an NSA room in Houston with a lot of people know me, and there were a lot of chuckles in the room. And, he didn't quite understand where that was coming from. And somebody set him straight during the break, and he came over to me and he said, hey, by the way, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, do that. He said, we must just be calling on different customers. And I said, obviously so, because if that's the way you are, you're not my customer. I don't do business with people like that. I know they're out there, but I don't like the idea of teaching that. I like the idea of teaching customers are collaborative. Customers are our partners. Customers are people we become advisors to. So again, I think that's one of those areas we want to be careful about. All right. And let's see here. Let's get back over here. What's your attitude about your company, your products and services, and or your boss? I work with a lot of salespeople who hate the company. They hate the product. They hate their boss. And I'm always going, you know what, man, if that's the case, then either get out of sales or find another job. I believe you really have to believe in your company. And for a lot of the solopreneurs I've got on the phone call here, you've got to believe in your company. You've got to believe in your products and services. And if you're the boss, you certainly got to believe in your boss. But if you're working for, see, I got some Axel Nobel guys on here, Mercedes-Benz folks. Looks like, okay, yeah, we've got some of the Mays folks. Got to have you guys with us for the first time here. What's your attitude about those folks? All right, what's your attitude about all that kind of stuff? That's really critical as well. And then what's your attitude about success and failure? Rejection, self-esteem, self-image, and self-confidence. Do you see failure as failure? Do you see it as just one step toward success? I shared in one of the podcasts a while back that one of the first sales trainers I ever heard of that I really loved was Tommy Hopkins. And Tommy talked about the whole idea of thank you for the $100. And what he said was, you have to figure out how many clients do you have to call on to get a yes. And I'll make the math really simple. Let's say you have to make 10 calls, and out of 10 calls, you get one yes. All right. And let's say that your average sale gives you $1,000 commission. What Tommy's taught us and taught me was, and that's kind of the way I learned to look at it is, every time somebody tells you no, that's just 1 out of 10. The way to respond to that is thank you for the $100. And then the second one, thank you for the $100. And the person that said yes, it was no more or less valuable than all of the no's that it took to get there. And that really helped me as a young sales guy. So how do you view success? How do you view failure? How do you review rejection when somebody tells you no? Do you take it personally, or is it just part of the deal? Those are some critical attitudes that we need to deal with. And at the end of the day, how do you see life in general? Do you see it as positive? Do you see it as negative? What kind of person? I mean, how do you see the world? And again, if you see it really negative all the time, then I can tell you your ability to be successful in sales is going to be limited. But if you're in general a positive person, you can deal with everything that comes along the sales and become very, very resilient at it. So what can we do about it? How do we build some resiliency? Here's a couple of things. First thing is figure out which core beliefs out of the things I just listed to you do we need to build new core beliefs about. How do we build a new core belief about sales in general? How do I build a new core belief about customers? How do I build a new core belief about failure or success? All right. How do I go about doing that? And then replace some old thoughts with new ones. We start off with the beliefs and we create new thoughts. I'm going to give you some ideas here in a minute. Garbage in, garbage out. We've got to be really careful what we put in our brain. I'm so thankful you guys come and join us for these webinars and the blogs and the podcasts, and everything's kind of growing really quickly and creating some challenges for us. But I'm so thankful that you guys are listening, and I'm hoping that this is one way that you're putting great stuff in your mind instead of all the garbage that's out there. There's a lot of it out there. I'm not a guy that believes you can't listen to AC/DC or your world's going to come to an end. I'm not like that. But we've got to make sure we're putting a lot of good stuff in our minds. And I hope this is just part of what you're doing. I hope there's a lot of other things that you're doing out there to do that. Be careful who you hang out with. If you're around people that are negative all the time, you've heard me talk about this before, find some awesome people to hang out with. Find some people that are really thinking and doing stuff that you want to do. Find some Facebook pages. I'm on some podcast pages I really love. I'm on this page with Janine Blackwell, the Creating Six-Figure Online Courses page. I like to follow those kinds of things. I follow some groups in LinkedIn that are really positive. I follow a lot of blogs and podcasts that are, people that are really positive. I'm very intentional about being who I spend my time with, whether that's face-to-face or whether that's virtual. And so I think to build resiliency, we need to be around other people who have great attitudes about those things where we struggle, and allow those people to kind of carry us along with them and give us some new attitudes and new thoughts and new beliefs. And then the last thing is every day I get up, I make a list of 10 things I'm thankful for. I start my day off thinking about how fortunate I am instead of whining about what I don't have. And so there's just some quick ideas about how to work on our attitude, how to work on our belief system, and how to build resiliency into our lives and the ability to bounce back from adversity. All right, any questions here before we move on? I'm going to give you some stuff to do this week. Questions or thoughts about any of that? Okay. All right. Already doing the 10 things I'm thankful for. Learned that in your workshop. Been doing it for, thank you. I appreciate that. That makes my day right there. I love that. It will change your perspective if you get in the habit of doing that. Okay. What are some of your favorite podcasts? There's a lot of good podcasts out there that are life oriented and what have you. Right now, I'm listening to primarily podcasts about podcasting. Pat Flynn, John Lee Dumas. I love, Rory Baden's got a pretty good one. It's getting better every day. I like his podcast. And let's see here. I like social media world, those guys, social media marketing. Michael Stelzner and those guys. By the way, they just launched a deal called Society for Social Media Examiners. Is really good. Somebody here saying, let's see here. Yeah, if you guys have got some ideas, post them for me here. Sean Acher, Acher, outstanding lessons on thankfulness and how to be positive. Good deal. Thank you, Paul. Yeah, if you guys got anybody you like to listen to, pop them out there. If any of you have a podcast, pop them out there. If you have them and I'm not aware of them, I'd love to listen to them. If you're not doing one, I would encourage you to try to think about doing one. That's one thing that keeps me positive is trying to crank out positive stuff. So, okay, so yeah, there's a lot of them. I'll list them in there for you. I've done that before, but I'll be glad to list the ones that we're listening to. But most of them are business oriented, and I listen to them because they all are very progressive. They're risk takers. They're entrepreneurs, and I just love the way they think, and they challenge me the way I think as well. So, anyway, good stuff. All right, here's some stuff to do this week. Here's 2 things I want you to do. First thing is I want you to watch a video by Nick Vujicic. Now, when we get through here in a minute, I'm going to back up to this slide, and I'm going to click on this link, and I'm going to hope that it broadcasts out over GoToWebinar. I tested it this morning. It did fine, but I can test them all day long, and until I do it in a live webinar, I'm never quite sure. Even though I faked the live webinar this morning, it worked just fine, but we'll see. If not, I want you to take the time to go and watch not just this video, but any number of videos by this guy. And you talking about making us thankful and looking at adversity differently. Nick's going to do that for us. And then this week, right between now and next Wednesday or next Thursday when we do our coaching call, I want you to make a list of 10 things you're thankful for every day. All right, for 7 days. I want you to do that. I'm going to challenge you to do it and just see what that does for you. I can tell you real quick, I do mine every day. The first 5 are always the same for me. It's my faith, my wife, my son, my country. And when I say my son, it's my son, daughter-in-law, and grandson now. My country and the work that I do, and then the other 5 things are whatever's going on. All right, so those first 5 are just kind of foundational for me, and that's why I use them every day. But then the other things are just kind of whatever's going on. Today I put in Janine Blackwell. Today I put you guys on there because I'm doing a webinar. Every day I'm with customers. I put the customer on the list, put them in the number 10 spot, which, by the way, I teach this in our workshops all the time. And I'm talking about attitude, and I'm talking about 10 things I'm thankful for. And I tell the group, all right, every time, I always tell them, and I put you on the list at number 10 this week, today, because I'm here with you. And some guy in the back of the room hollered out, "You mean we're last?" I mean, I'm doing a deal on attitude, and this guy wants to say something like that. And I go, "Yes, sir. Out of the thousands of things I could have put on my list today, you're in the top 10. And I do think clients ought to be there and customers ought to be there. And I put you guys there every time I do a webinar. So we're very, very thankful for that. So anyway, those are the 2 things I want you to do this week. Go watch a video by Nick Vujicic, and then make a list of 10 things you're thankful for 7 days in a row. I just want you to try that, and I think you're going to like it. Okay? So any questions? Any questions at all? Value equals your behavior. Thankful list provides your list of things you currently value. Absolutely. Excellent stuff, Paul. Thank you. Anybody else? Any questions? Okay, do me a favor. All right, just let's do this real quick. Raise your hand if you think, in general, you have a good attitude. I'm not even going to say a great attitude. I'm going to say a good one. All right. Okay. Yep. I'm a little worried about those of you who are not raising your hand. Okay. All right. I'm going to give you about 10 seconds more to raise your hand if you feel like in general, you got a good attitude. Not even a great one, just a good one. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. I'm trying to slow down here. 3, in case you're contemplating. 2, 1. All right, well, that's most everybody. Those of you who didn't raise it, good. I appreciate your honesty there. That's really cool. So anyway, let me kind of wrap this up, and I'm going to go back to that video and see if it works for us. As always, here's a hope for you. If you're new, we want to give you some great foundation stuff. If you're stuck in the middle, which is the place I think is the worst place to be, you've been at it a while, we want to get you out of there. And if you're at the top, we want to help you stay there and even do better than what you've been doing. So that's our hope for you guys this year. Now, let's go back and see if the video works. Okay. All right, everybody cross your fingers.
I wasn't ready.
Do me a favor, guys. Raise your hands if you can see that on your screen. Okay.
I have no arms and no legs, but I'm very thankful that I have
Awesome.
a little chicken drumstick here. People freak out when they see me for the first time. It's so cool. I was at a water slide all by myself. Everyone obviously at the bottom of the slide is looking up and waiting for other people to come down. And here I come, and they're freaking out. They're like, like this. And I was so tempted to look at myself and go, what happened? There were times where I sort of looked at my life and thinking, well, I can't do this and I can't do that. And you keep on concentrating on the things that you wish you had or the things that you wish you didn't have. And you sort of forget what you do have. And there's no point, I believe, in my life where I wish I had arms, legs, I wish I had arms, legs, I wish I had arms, legs, because wishing won't help. But what I've seen in life are just a couple key principles. And the first thing that I've seen is to be thankful. It's hard to be thankful, man. I tell you, when I was 8 years old, I sort of summed up my life and thought, I'm never going to get married. I'm not going to have a job. I'm not going to have a life of purpose. What kind of a husband am I going to be if I can't even hold my wife's hand? It's a lie to think that you're not good enough. It's a lie to think that you're not worth anything. Oh boy. It's freezing, I can't feel my hands. I love life. So many people come and say, how come you smile so much? And I'm like, well, it's a long story. But it's very simple at the same time. You see, it's very hard to smile sometimes in life. There are things that happen that you don't know and you don't understand, and you don't know if you're going to get through it. You go through your storms in life, and you don't know how long this storm's going to be. And today I want to share with you some principles that I've learned in my life that you can use in yours. Being patient is beautiful. I tell you, it's the hardest thing. But I realize I may not have hands to hold my wife's hand. But when the time comes, I'll be able to hold her heart. I don't need hands to hold her heart. It is scary to know how many girls have eating disorders. It is scary to know how many people are just angry at life because of their situation at home and angry at others. It's scary to know how many people actually feel like they're worth nothing. Every single girl right here, right now, I want you to know that you are beautiful. You are gorgeous just the way you are. And you boys, you're the man. On this DVD, I share my experiences in life of how I've overcome challenges and seen a new, fresh perspective in life. To be thankful, to dream big, and to never give up. I speak to children, youth, and adults about key issues and principles that I've applied in my life that has given me the strength to conquer all that comes before me.
All right, guys. Well, anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. And Laura, thanks for that deal there. Did the sound get better right there toward the end?
Nick is our hero with no legs or arms.
Oh, sorry.
But he has inspired so many lives around the world, bringing hope towards...
Okay. That'll be beautiful technology, right? Okay. Anyway. All right. So, again, guys, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed that. Yeah, Laura, you said sound is not so great. And I was thinking, oh, okay, technology. Then I realized my microphone is in my little recording box that I use. And I just turned it toward the screen and the speakers on my Mac desktop. and it got better. So I'm an idiot, guys. I apologize. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, gang, and I want you to go out and have a great week. Do the things that I encourage you. There's more videos on there by Nick, and they're just fantastic. So I love that guy. Met him a while back, and I just think he's an amazing guy. And anytime I get to feeling a little down, I go and listen to his stuff, and it makes me want to go conquer the world. So I love his stuff. And then the other thing is take a few moments each morning. Make a list of 10 things you're thankful for, and then let's check in next week and see how it went for you. So thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. Hope you have a great day. Take care.